Hello everyone, I'm back with another video. So today I'm going to be talking about the Pokemon Center stamped promos versus their non-stamped counterparts to see if it makes sense to focus on picking up Pokemon Center Elite Trainer boxes from this era over the standard Elite Trainer boxes. I think Elite Trainer box is one of my personal favorite sealed items, especially for specialty sets. Booster box is king for standard sets, but for specialty sets, I really like them. And in this era of the Pokemon Center specific ones, we have gotten these really nice Pokemon Center stamped promos that the market is valuing significantly higher than the non-stamped counterparts. So I have the Snorlax pulled up just as an example. There seems to be pretty good data on TCG Player, so we can go off of this. So the cheapest listing is, call it $8. And they're, in the past, 3 days, 214 of these have sold. So these are moving really well at the moment. And this is the non-stamped version. So $8, 220-ish copies in the past few days. The stamped version in the past day, so in the past week, it's moved 12 items. So way fewer items have sold on TCG Player. I would argue with cards, TCG Player maybe is not the best place to get information. A lot of people want to be able to see the card that they're buying first, so it might be better to look at eBay. So this is not entirely going to show, but just off TCG Player, 12 items sold versus 200 items sold. Very big difference in the amount of sales, but in the total value, we're looking at roughly $130, $127, $130 versus $8 card. Just because it has this Pokemon Center stamp. The exact same card, Snorlax from 151, awesome promo, fantastic promo, love this card. And the Pokemon Center stamped version is worth, 15 times the standard version? And I want to go over why that is and why that probably will continue. And what pros and cons there are to holding or focusing on these Pokemon Center stamped versions versus the non-stamped versions. So if we go back to a set from a few years ago, Champion's Path, where we had the pink Charizard. Everybody at the time, so this is the last hype, cycle that Pokemon went through. Everybody wanted to grade this card. It was, a Charizard promo. Came out of ETB, I think Champion's Path specialty set. It was easily one of the best pieces of art that came out of that set. However, you had 47,000 PSA 10s get made from this card. So because of that, the average price is $46. So it was never able to move meaningfully higher in value, even though so many people clearly wanted to grade this card. It's got probably 80,000 total graded copies, maybe slightly more. 47,000 of them being PSA 10s is just too many 10s on the market, even though it's moved $365,000 of sales on this PSA report. It's a lot of volume at low value because there's so many copies that exist, right? So if we take a look at the same kind of analytics for the Snorlax, not as many grades on the standard version, so it's still significantly less than that 40,000 number, which is a crazy number. But the non-stamped version, since 2023, came out in a much lower hype moment for Pokemon, so there's fewer of these that have been graded. There's 6,132 PSA 10s and 7,531 PSA 9s, and maybe 2,000 more lower than PSA 9 copies. we're really focused on this PSA 10 number. And so we have 47,000 of that Charizard versus 6,132 of this Snorlax, so much less. The Snorlax, therefore, able to be worth a bit more, $92.50 for the average price. Even though it's moved, only 18,000, so way less money has moved through this card, but it can be worth more just because it has a much smaller population. Okay? Then the Pokemon Center stamped version takes that to a further extreme. Okay, so we have 19,000 total US dollar value moved through this card. So just about the same value has been moved through this card. But the average price for a PSA 10 of the stamped version is $520. So 5 times the amount, because there's only 1,295 PSA 10s that exist. So you have 1/5 the amount of PSA 10s that exists. You have 5 times the value per card, right? So that's to say, if I were to buy 5 of these at $8 a piece, if I were to grade them with PSA, it's going to cost me $20 a piece to grade them. Let's say it costs me altogether, it costs me $30 if you're very lucky and you get all PSA 10s on your 5 cards. You would have spent $150 to get 5 cards. That's worth, what is that? Almost $500. It's going to be probably like $450 at the average price of one of these. Okay, so $450 from a $150 investment. That's if every single card gets a PSA 10, which is extremely unlikely. Then the standard, or the Pokemon Center printed version, the stamped version, if you find a really clean copy and you're able to buy it for $130, which is about market price, it's going to cost you $20 to grade it. It's $150 in, and your average sale price is $520, and the most recent is $457. So it's that same $150 in, $450 out, only grading 1 card. And if you find a clean copy, it is more likely that you could find 1 clean copy that gets a PSA 10 versus trying to find 5 clean copies and getting 5 PSA 10s. Chance that at least one of those hits a 9 is extremely likely. Of course, big chance that your 1 copy you're sending off is not hitting a 10 either, but just in this hypothetical example, it's a little bit easier to hit this return than I think it would be to guarantee yourself this return. So that brings me to the Pokemon Center ETB. Is it worth it if we know that they're always going to bring this premium in this card, the Pokemon Center stamped version of the promos from the Scarlet and Violet era, which I think are fantastic promo cards. And the market loves promos. The market's going crazy over, some of the Sword and Shield era promos or Sun and Moon era promos at the moment. The Stained Glass Birds trio, or the Greninja Gold Star that's going crazy at the moment. So I think promos are a really good investment long term. Pokemon card holding long term. And so when you have a premium, a kind of guaranteed premium version of the card that is going to hold meaningfully more value over the more kind of, call it like an unlimited version versus like the first ed version, right? So it's a little bit different, but kind of same idea. You have a much tighter population control on this, and you have a little stamp on it. Basically same idea as first ed, right? First ed stamp and tighter population. And we know first edition stuff goes for way more than the unlimited stuff, right? So same kind of thinking here. We're guaranteed this kind of value where you get a $130 promo out of the item, right? And if we look up Pokemon Center ETB for 151, Pokemon Center ETB on TCG Player. So these going for $521. call it 520, and the 151 ETB on TCG Player. The non-special version goes for $250. A lot of volume recently on these. $250 for one of these versus the $520 for one of these. Considering the promo that you can get out of it is worth about $130, this in reality, subtract the $130 out of it, brings you to close to $400 versus $250. So you have an extra $150 worth of expected value out of the Pokemon Center ETB versus the non-Pokemon Center, the standard ETB. And I think the reason the market is pricing this higher like that, the extra $150, is for the chance to get a 10, right? If you get that PSA 10 on that card, it turns it from a $150 card to a $500 card, right? So, you know, an extra $350 versus that extra $150 that you're applying to the like expected value of the box. So in my opinion, that will sustain and potentially even increase in margin over time. You have a lot more of these standard ETBs than you do the Pokemon Center version. Collectors like the little extra details too. You know, think about the first edition stuff. Anytime there's a stamp, anytime there's a special something added to a product or to a card, collectors find a way to add value to that. And so just this little Pokemon Center stamp on the sealed product is going to be something, you know, collectible in the future. You know, a collector that wants all Pokemon Center stamped ETBs. And then, of course, even, you know, I think further beyond that, the cards themselves, right? The Pokemon Center stamp is a nice little addition to the card, and, you know, adds the extra value. Like the Charmander is like a, I don't know, $15, $20 card in the standard versus the $80 to $90 card in the stamped. You know, same thing with the Pikachu, major difference. Same thing with the Koraidon, the Wobbuffet, the Eevee, which is my favorite by far. I think it's such a good card. I think so many people want to grade this card. So this will be like another one, very clear and obvious example. Eevee promo, PSA 10 pop report. And I might have to add some details here. Let's see. Okay, so pop report, EV promo, prismatic evolutions. Let's see if we can find this. Okay, maybe we get it from here. Yeah. Okay, so this is perfect right here. So this is the EV out of the standard Prismatic Evolutions Elite Trainer box. And there have been a total of 40,000 copies already graded, and almost 18,000 PSA 10s have been made. So this is on that same kind of trajectory that Charizard card was, where it's just so many people want to grade this card. Such a great card. Which shows the demand for it. Amazing. Huge demand for this card. That won't go anywhere. However, 18,000 is a crazy amount of population on it, while the stamped version, the Pokemon Center Elite Trainer Box version, has less than 3,000. And still a total of 10,000 attempted to be graded, 9,300. And has 2,893 PSA 10 copies. So that is going to limit that population immensely. You have a huge demand for that card, clearly, between these two versions. And so the Pokemon Center stamped version will hold a premium just because it has that limited population. It's as if that Charizard we went over earlier, this 47,000 copies. Imagine there was a version of this card that had 4,000 copies in a PSA 10 that just had a little Champion's Path stamp on it. Easily would be worth 10 times this, maybe more. You have so much demand for this card. It's moved $365,000 worth of value through this card. You have a lot of demand for it. People want it, but it's never going to be worth that much because there's so many copies. It's just too much to process for the market to move it higher in a meaningful way. Maybe over the long run, but not anytime soon. Right? So for me, this is why I like these Pokemon Center stamped promos so much. They give you a way to collect these amazing arts without having so many copies on the market, especially in the PSA 10 copy department. You have significantly less, and so you're going to have a significant premium. And so to me, it makes that Pokemon Center version of the ETB that much more desirable. And it goes for, I like this Miraidon a lot. I think it's a great card. The Screamtail, not a huge fan of this one. Some people would say they are, but I don't know. Not a huge fan. Not a great Pokemon as far as like investable Pokemon goes. I like the Noctowl, but same thing. I like this art a lot, but same thing. And Zora, I think this one is really solid. I think Journey Together could do well, give it enough time. And this Magneton, I think, is great art, really cool. But honestly, I think by far the strongest one from this era is the Eevee. I like the Charmander a lot too. I think Charmander's great. I like the Snorlax. Snorlax is great. Got the little Diglett, little Pidgey. Love it, but people love their Eevees, That's a great Eevee card. You take out the supply, take out the amount of copies that exist, and just enjoy it for what it is. You look at the art. It's amazing art, in my opinion. Amazing. Fantastic. It's like exactly kind of what you would think of Eevee in an Eevee card. Cute, sleeping, playful, surrounded by these little things, this little Pikachu plushie, like very good card in my opinion, extremely good card. The little berries down here too, the berries, you can use them in the games and stuff, so that's like a cool little nod. Yeah, it's so cool, such a good card. So extremely bullish on this, extremely bullish on Prismatic Evolutions in general, but just another reason that I think the Pokemon Center version of the ETBs are a strong option in comparison to the standard version. And we'll see, how much of a difference in value they will hold into the future. This one, is about half of the Pokemon Center version, and I think we will see something very similar with Prismatic Evolution. The standard Elite Trainer box is about $110. Getting a nice bounce off that sub $100 price, and then the Prismatic Evolution Pokemon Center Elite Trainer box is about $220 at the moment. Hitting this new low with a ton of volume because of the recent restock. I think these are an absolute deal at this price. I think the difference, the $100 difference that you're seeing between the Pokemon Center version versus the standard version, I think that will widen. I think the card at the moment, the Eevee, give it enough time and it will be back to being above $100 card. So just for the card alone, it will be worth it to own the Pokemon Center version. And let's say you get 11 Prismatic Evolution packs in the Pokemon Center version. And is it the same? You get 9 Pokemon Scarlet and Violet Prismatic Evolution booster packs in the standard. So you also get 2 additional packs. So yeah, this value difference, I think the market has this pretty mispriced at the moment. I think these will create a bigger divide in the future against the non-Pokemon Center version. But yeah, that's just kind of my ramblings. It's already been like 20 minutes, so I'm going to call it there. Please like and subscribe, and catch you in the next one. Peace.